You ever look around a city and wonder, how did all this get here? Is it just random? Nope. There's a plan, a massive blueprint for pretty much everything. And today, we're going to dig into the official documents that are literally shaping the future of an incredible city, Cape Town. So, what exactly is this blueprint for a city's future? Well, it's not some dusty old map you can just roll out on a table. It's way more complex than that. Think of it as a living, breathing set of documents. The city's grand strategy that decides how and where it's going to grow for years, even decades to come.
And this grand strategy, it actually has a name. It's called the Integrated Development Plan, or IDP for short. This is the big kahuna, right? The top-level document that lays out the grand vision for the entire city.
Okay, and here's what's really important to get. The IDP isn't just some feel-good wish list, you know? It's actually required by law. We're talking about the Municipal Systems Act. Every single municipality has to create one of these and stick to it. It's the one plan that's meant to tie everything else together. So the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think about building a house. The IDP, that's your master blueprint for the whole property. It shows the big picture, the overall design, the style, and how all the major pieces are supposed to connect.
But you know, a master blueprint isn't enough to actually start hammering nails, right? You need more detail. You need to know where the walls go, and that's where we zoom in on the next piece of the puzzle, the spatial framework.
This is called the Municipal Spatial Development Framework, or MSDF. Now, it's a huge part of that master plan, but it's got a super specific job. It's all about guiding how land is actually used. You know, where do you put the houses? Where do the parks go? Where do the industry fit? The MSDF is the thing that answers all those where questions.
And this is the perfect way to look at it. If the IDP is the master blueprint, then the MSDF is the detailed floor plan. It shows you exactly where the rooms are, how they connect, and how you're supposed to move through the space. It's the real nitty-gritty of the city's physical layout.
But here's the catch. Cities aren't static, right? They're living, breathing things that are always changing. So you can't just carve these plans in stone and call it a day. They have to be reviewed, they have to be updated. And that brings us to a really important review that took place back in 2022.
So, why bother with a review? Well, the goals were pretty straightforward. First, they needed to look ahead and figure out what changes were coming down the pike. Second, they had to check if any new laws meant they needed new plans. And third, and this is the big one, it was all about sharpening and strengthening the city's overall vision for the future.
And the results of all that work? It wasn't just some tiny edit in the margins. No way. It was a major overhaul. A completely new spatial framework was put in place. And that, my friends, was a pretty significant shift.
So, to put it simply, the old 2018 version of the MSDF, it's out, gone. It has been totally replaced by the brand new, shiny 2023 version.
And this wasn't just some quiet, informal change. This was official with a capital O. Mark your calendars, January 26th, 2023. That is the day the City Council gave the formal stamp of approval to the new MSDF, a real turning point for Cape Town's development strategy.
Okay, so here's why all of this really matters. Changing the city's floor plan, that MSDF, doesn't just happen in a bubble. It creates this massive ripple effect that touches every single part of the city's master blueprint.
And that's really the main thing to remember here. In something as complex as a city, one change really does affect everything. It's like, you can't just move a wall in your house without thinking about the electrical wiring, the plumbing, and of course, the budget.
So once that new MSDF was locked in, a whole bunch of other critical plans had to get in line. We're talking about the financial plan, how are we going to pay for all this, the waste management plan, what do we do with all the trash, and the human settlements plan, which is all about where and how people are actually going to live. Everything had to be tweaked to match this new spatial strategy.
So at the end of the day, what's the point of all this bureaucracy? Well, this quote from the city's own documents just nails it. This whole process, it's not just about filling out forms. It's about making sure the city can actually pull off its big, transformational goals and turn its vision into a reality.
So there we have it. The blueprint's been updated, the floor plan's been completely redrawn. And that leaves us with one really fascinating question, doesn't it? With this new strategy locked in, how is Cape Town's story actually going to unfold on the ground?